Hello, Billy here. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about one of the apps that I've built, ClientKit, which was motivated by something that I was encountering in my life where I needed some additional utility from my iPhone. A bit about myself too, though. So as I am an avid coder, I've been coding for many years at this point, over a decade. But it has mostly been data science projects and some small iPhone apps on the side. The idea for ClientKit required a larger number of features and coding that was outside of the typical data science skill set. And so one of the things that I tried doing was coding the app completely using vibe coding, essentially. One of the things that I wanted to explore is just how good could the app be just from a vibe coding kind of experience, while also trying to utilize some of the best practices that I utilize for my data science coding projects and seeing how I can translate some of those skills to this kind of workflow. But a little bit about the app. ClientKit is meant to be a tool for doing contracting work. So maybe you're a music tutor or you are a landscaper that goes to different clients' houses and you want to record the sessions with your client and you want to take notes and take pictures and showcase the progress while also sending the client an invoice and automatically collect payments and organize your information and be able to have reminders to reach out to clients, etc. So there's a lot of different features that are baked into this app. It all started with just me trying to help someone do some landscaping, and I noticed, it would be really nice if it just could take a transcript of my conversation with this person, if it could, I could take pictures as the conversation was going on and make notes on the image, etc. And so it became this app idea that I thought might be useful for others as well. But I'm not the best software developer. I am a data scientist coder, and I'm pretty good at those sorts of tasks of analyzing data and selecting the right model to solve a problem, etc. Software development is not something that I was specifically trained to do. So what I decided to do is utilize Claude Code and to come up with a plan, evaluate that plan, and then iterate on the app and how it worked. So the first version of the app had a lot of the things that I was looking for, but there were small bugs here and there. And the way that I began to trust the app was not by reviewing the code line by line, but instead ensuring that it did what it intended, what I wanted the app to do. So did it actually transcribe the conversation I was having? Did it enable me to take pictures and write on the pictures and put them right into the transcript? Could I send off an invoice to someone using my Venmo account? Basically, how I gain trust with the code is that it did what I wanted the functionality of the software to do. And so I began to use this app and see if it actually did what I wanted it to do. And that encouraged more trust to be developed. And so that is the basic idea of for vibe coding. If you don't necessarily know how to read every single line of code, or you don't know how to critically evaluate the code itself, because you might not know, okay, this is the code I need to do to change the font size or the font color. You might not know how to code that, but if you've coded before, you kind of get a general idea of different lines of code and what you can guess what the code is doing. But you don't actually know it because you haven't coded in that language before, but you have a general idea, you have a sense of saying, okay, this is probably what it's trying to do. And then actually feeling like you can trust the code is when it becomes you're using it a ton, you're using it over and over again, you're finding bugs, you're addressing them, you're working with Claude Code to make adjustments. And until it gets to the point where it's actually coming out and you're not even thinking about the trust component, you just do trust the software. And so that is one idea, or one way I've been utilizing generative AI for a task that is important, but it's not a life-threatening, life-critical task like brain surgery or doing some kind of medical procedure. If the worst case scenario happens with this app, it's not the end of the world. We can iterate, and no one's going to necessarily be no one's life is going to be threatened in this case. There's still potential risks in not knowing how to do everything, every aspect, and not being able to write the code yourself necessarily. However, this allows you to create software that is bespoke to your specific needs and might be able to help others. And by using the artifact created through the vibe coding session, and it passes a not arbitrarily low bar, but a bar that is adequate, that seems reasonable to a user who is not vibe coded the app or coded in their life, but is using it and not thinking about what it's doing and just trusting that it's doing what it intends to do, what it's being marketed as doing, as intending to do. If you're getting to that point where it's actually doing what you intended it to do, and it's doing it well, and you trust it, not just arbitrarily saying, oh, that's good enough. No, it actually is doing what it's supposed to do. This is one way I think that we can vibe code and just arbitrarily accepting whatever is presented by it through a vibe coding session. The one analogy that I can make is just the calculator, a TI-84 calculator. Many people, if not most people, do not know how a calculator works. They just trust that the calculator knows what it's doing, because a person can do the math by hand, do it in the calculator, and do it many times, and then they just trust that the calculator will do the calculations correctly. But they don't actually know how a calculator is doing the arithmetic required for that said calculation. It's just producing the result that is correct, and they have verified it many times. So it's that same kind of idea where the user is using the app, whether they are the creator of the app or someone who's not associated with the creation process whatsoever. It is creating an artifact, the app in this case, where the user is trusting that the artifact is doing what it is intended to do. So that's how I created the ClientKit app. I'd be interested to hear how other folks have begun to trust their vibe coded outputs. But if you have other thoughts or opinions on this, I'd love to hear it down in the comments below.